Raise your right hand. Okay, you can do that too. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
You may be seated.
Thank you.
Please identify yourself and spell your last name for the benefit of our court reporter.
My name is Fred Martin, M-A-R-T-I-N.
And Mr. Martin, what do you do for a living?
I'm a firefighter.
And where do you live?
I live at 3333 North Clark Street.
Is that close to a bar called the Red Apple?
Yes, it is. It's actually on the same block as my house, but on the other side of the street.
Mr. Martin, do you remember the evening of June 15th, 2012?
Yes, I do.
And what were you doing that evening?
That evening, I decided to go outside. It was a beautiful summer night and enjoy the nice weather. And I heard two men arguing.
And do you see either of those men here in the courtroom today?
Yes, I do.
Could you please point to the man that you saw that night who's present in the courtroom and identify him by an article of clothing?
Yeah, there's only one man here present, and it's that defendant over there with a black shirt.
Your Honor, may the record show that the witness has identified the defendant?
It shall.
Mr. Martin, what were these two men doing when you saw them?
They were arguing.
And approximately where were they standing?
They were standing right across the street from the Red Apple on my side of the block.
I'm now showing the opposing counsel what's previously been marked as People's Exhibit 1. Permission to approach the witness?
You may.
I'm now showing the witness what's previously been marked as People's Exhibit 1. Mr. Martin, do you recognize People's Exhibit 1?
Yes, it's a diagram of the half block of where my house is and the Red Apple is also.
And does this diagram fairly and accurately represent that intersection as it existed on June 15, 2012?
Yes, it does.
And is it to scale?
It is to scale.
Your Honor, at this time, the people ask that all identifying marks be stricken and that People's Exhibit 1 be entered into evidence.
It shall.
Mr. Martin, using this pen and describing to the jury as you do it, could you please circle your house?
Okay, so I'm circling right here, 3333 North Clark Street.
And could you please circle where the Red Apple is located?
And the Red Apple is right here at 3300 Park Street.
And could you please circle where the light fixtures are, the street lights are located closest to your house?
Yes. There's a light right here on the north side of the street by an alley by Clark Street. And then there's also another street light on the intersection of Clark and Elm Street, which is south of my house. And then there's also a light fixture that the Red Apple has on 3300 Clark Street.
Thank you. Your Honor, at this point, the people ask that People's Exhibit 1 be published to the jury.
It shall.
Mr. Martin, let's go back to June 15, 2012. You said those men were arguing. And approximately where were they standing?
They were standing right across the street from Clark Street. One of them they were standing right across the street from Clark Street.
And who of the two was facing you?
The taller man was facing me.
And by the taller man, do you mean the defendant or the other person?
No, there was, the defendant was the shorter guy. There was another taller man, about half an inch taller than the defendant.
So the defendant was facing away from you?
Yes.
So how did you get a good look at him?
Well, I mean, the streetlights helped a lot. There's a streetlight right across the street from the streetlight that the Red Apple has. It helped see. And then also there's a light fixture on the intersection of Clark and Elm Street. But there was also some porch house lights on that night too. So all of that lighting helped me see the defendant and the taller guy.
And after you saw them argue for a little bit, what happened then?
Then I saw that the defendant, I saw the short guy, or I heard a bang, and then I saw the tall guy drop to the floor.
And then what happened after that?
Then I heard, then some patrons thankfully were coming out, and the defendant saw them and just started running.
And what happened after that?
The patrons were able to catch the defendant. I saw them catch the defendant, and he was just standing with them.
Finally, Mr. Martin, I have 2 questions for you. Do you feel that your neighborhood is so unsafe that you need to carry a gun with you for protection?
No, it's a really good neighborhood. It's a working class neighborhood. I mean, I wouldn't live there. I'm a firefighter. I wouldn't live there if it was dangerous.
Finally, Mr. Martin, at any time during the argument between the defendant and the taller man, did you ever see the tall man lunge at the defendant?
No, I did not.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. No further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Martin, you were outside, Mr. Martin, on June 15, 2012, you were outside on your porch.
Yes.
And this was at 11 p.m.?
Yes.
And it was dark out?
Yes, it was a wonderful night.
And
Up to the point.
And you were, and you saw, no. Oh.
I was sitting there on my porch, and then I heard the 2 men arguing.
Okay, let's start all over. Okay. Mr. Martin, on June 15, 2012, you were sitting outside on your porch.
Correct.
And this was around 11 p.m.?
Yes.
And it was dark out?
Yeah, it was nighttime.
And there was only a few street lights and some porch lights on that night?
Yeah, there were the couple street lights, the floodlight at the Red Apple, and a few of the porch lights, yeah.
And you were 100 feet away from the incident?
Yeah, about 100 feet, 35 yards, something like that.
And you weren't able to hear what the argument was about between the two individuals?
Well, I heard them arguing, but I couldn't hear exactly the words they were saying.
Did you hear what they were arguing about?
No, I didn't hear the exact words, no.
And there was a tall man?
Yes.
And a short man?
Yes.
And the body, the short man's body was standing between you and the tall man?
Correct.
Between your view and...
Yes.
And it was really hard to see everything that was happening between the 2 individuals that night.
No, not really.
But you weren't able to see the gun. You initially weren't able to see the gun, were you?
Not until the defendant dropped it.
And you weren't able to see, you didn't see when the defendant fired the weapon, did you?
No, I assumed that he fired it when I heard the gunshot.
All you saw that night was a gunshot and a tall man fall.
Yes, I heard the gunshot, and I saw the tall man fall, and then I saw the defendant drop the gun and run away.
But what you are certain that happened that night was that there was a tall man there was a short man that was backing away from the tall man.
Yes, the short man was facing me. I mean, the short man was facing the other way. The tall man was facing me, and they were both moving towards me. So, yes, the defendant was walking backwards.
So just to clarify, the short man was backing away from the tall man?
He was walking backwards, yeah.
Thank you. No further questions.
Sure.
The prosecution calls Eddie Felton. Could you please state your name, spelling the last for the purposes of our court reporter?
Eddie Felton, last name F-E-L-T-O-N.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a construction worker.
What type of work do you perform?
We work on high-rise buildings for the most part.
Mr. Felton, I'm going to direct your attention to the night of June 15th, 2012. Do you remember that day?
Yes, I do.
What were you doing that day?
I went to Red Apple Tavern that day.
And where is Red Apple Tavern located?
Roughly 3300 North Clark Street.
Do you regularly go to the bar?
Yes, I do.
Could you describe the bar for me?
For the most part, it's just a neighborhood bar that go to pretty often.
And what type of people hang out at the Red Apple?
For the most part, just working class people from the neighborhood in the area.
What time did you arrive at the Red Apple Tavern?
9 p.m.
Do you know a man named Merle Rausch?
I know him from Red Apple Tavern. We're not friends or anything. I just see him there every so often.
Do you see him in court today?
Yes, I do.
Could you please point him out, identifying him by an article of clothing that he's wearing?
He's the gentleman over there with the blue tie.
Your Honor, may the record reflect the in-court identification of the defendant.
It shall.
Mr. Felton, do you know a man named William Jones?
I know him from Red Apple Tavern as well. We're not friends or anything. I just see him there every so often.
And did you see the defendant at the bar on June 15th?
Yes, I did.
What was he doing when you saw him?
He was having a drink.
Did you see what he was drinking?
Objection. Relevance.
Your Honor, who's my honor? Your Honor, this is relevant. This goes to the theory of our case. Sorry. Your Honor, let me start over.
I think, go ahead.
Okay. Your Honor, this is relevant. We anticipate the defense to submit testimony stating that the victim in this case had been drinking and the drinking caused him to be the first aggressor, and we are rebutting the affirmative defense in this case.
Your Honor, this defense has presented no evidence showing that the defendant or William Jones was drinking that night, so this information is relevant as of right now.
Is it going to be part of your defense theory that William Jones was drinking that night and therefore was the first aggressor?
Yes.
Are you going to talk about William Jones having been drinking?
We do anticipate bringing that up.
The objection is overruled.
I'm going to ask my question one more time. Did you see what he was drinking that night?
He had 4 mixed drinks. Objection. Speculation.
Oh, sorry.
Your Honor, this is not speculation. My witness is just testifying. Ooh, may be heard outside the presence of the jury.
Yes, you may.
You were supposed to say that, not me.
No, you.
Oh,
No,
I
you
was.
are.
I'm sorry. Your Honor, this is not speculation. My witness is testifying as to what he actually saw that night. That would not be speculation.
Your Honor, although the witness does have personal knowledge that he was drinking, he cannot testify as to what the drink was. He can only speculate. There's no way or evidence presented showing that the drink was actually a mixed drink. For all the witness knows, it could have been water.
The objection is overruled, but you may revisit it on cross-examination to see whether there's any other explanations of why he was drinking. You continue, counsel.
Okay. You answered it. I'll repeat the question. What did you see him drinking? Did you know what he was drinking that night?
He had 4 mixed drinks that night.
Did you see the victim, William Jones, at the bar that night?
Yes, I did.
What was he doing?
He was having a drink as well.
Do you remember anything else about that night?
William Jones and Morrow got into an argument that night.
Do you know what they were arguing about?
I couldn't tell you what they were arguing about.
Did the argument end at some point?
Yes, it did. The bartender or a few guys from the bar eventually broke it up.
What did the defendant do after the argument was broken up?
The defendant left the bar.
Around what time did the defendant leave the bar?
11 p.m.
Did William Jones eventually leave the bar?
Yes, he did.
When did he leave the bar?
About 5 or 6 minutes later.
What happened after the victim left the bar?
After the victim left the bar, we heard a gunshot a moment later, and Myself, as well as a few other patrons from the rest bar, we went outside to see what had occurred. And Merle was standing right across the street from the bar. He was still so close to the bar. I was very surprised that he was still so close, especially since he had left 5 or 6 minutes later. Prior, I'm sorry.
And what did the defendant do when all of you ran outside the bar?
He dropped his weapon and he ran. And a few patrons grabbed him and brought him back.
Did he do anything else after he was brought back?
He did not do anything else.
Was this the first time you saw Merle? Did you see Merle carry a gun before this incident?
Objection. Relevance.
Your Honor, this is relevant. May I be heard outside the presence of the jury?
You may.
Your Honor, this is relevant. It goes with the theory of our case that the defendant brought a gun that night, only that night, for the purposes of confronting the victim, and only that purpose. And my witness would testify, if he's allowed, that he never seen Merle with a gun before, and that goes with the theory of our case.
Counsel.
Your Honor, the witness testifying as to whether or not that he's ever seen the defendant with a gun doesn't make any more or less probable the fact that he shot the victim that night with purpose.
Are you going to claim that the defendant regularly carries a gun for protection?
We don't. We do anticipate presenting that defense.
Then I think it's relevant whether anybody has ever seen you with a gun before. Objections overruled.
I'll ask the question again. Have you ever seen the defendant carry a gun before that night?
No, I have not.
Mr. Felton, do you feel the need to carry any type of weapon in that neighborhood?
No, I don't. It's a pretty safe neighborhood. I've never had to carry a weapon.
And do you feel the need to carry a gun in that neighborhood?
No, I do not.
Nothing further.
Mr. Felton, you were at Red Apple Tavern on June 15, 2012.
Yes, I was.
And you arrived around 9 p.m.
Yes, I did.
And you witnessed William Jones have 4 drinks that night.
Objection. Calls for speculation.
Counsel.
Your Honor, may I be heard outside the presence of the jury?
You may.
This is not speculation, Your Honor. The witness is testifying to, they have personal knowledge. He was there that night. This is what they seen that night.
I would say that since he witnessed, the witness will be allowed to testify how many drinks he saw the victim have. However, he will not be allowed to speculate as to what he was drinking.
Wait, were you the judge right now?
I don't know.
She's
You were
just
supposed to argue for
responding.
yours.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just responding?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were responding. Oh.
No, you are.
Oh.
I was like,
This
wait,
is your
what?
witness.
She's the
Yeah.
judge right now.
Um,
Yeah.
She's the judge.
Yes.
Okay, and your argument was?
Speculation.
The witness has personal knowledge. They were there. This is what they saw.
Your Honor, the witness should not be allowed to speculate as to what the victim was drinking, since he could have easily been drinking water, apple juice, and he is not here to testify as to what he was drinking. So the witness should not be allowed to speculate as to that knowledge.
Okay. I will overrule it just because you introduced evidence on the same concept.
I'll ask the question again. So you seen William Jones have 4 drinks that night.
Yes, I did.
You seen William Jones have 4 drinks that night between a 2-hour period.
Objection,
of 9
asked and
and
answered,
11.
Your Honor. The witness has already explained that he saw Mr. Jones have 4
He
drinks.
needs to be
that night.
answering.
May I be heard outside the presence of the jury?
You may.
Your Honor, while my prior question was to how many drinks the William Jones had, my current question is to the time period, so it's not the same question as before.
You need to answer.
Your Honor.
Because you objected,
Yeah.
so then he answers, and then you re-answer.
I re-answer. Your Honor, I would ask that counsel is not allowed to ask the same question, that he be allowed to rephrase his question.
I will allow the same question, but just move on because it is kind of similar with a slight difference. So after this question, please move on.
So you witnessed William Jones have 4 drinks that night between the 2-hour period of 9 and 11 p.m.
Yes.
You also witnessed William Jones and Merle have get into an argument that night.
Yes, I did.
And do you know what that argument was about?
No, I do not.
So you did not hear, I'm sorry, let me rephrase my question. So you were not paying attention to what they were arguing about?
No, I didn't.
You also witnessed Merle leave Red Apple Tavern that night around 11 p.m., correct?
Yes.
And then you witnessed William Jones leave shortly after, correct?
Yes. About 5 or 6 minutes after.
And then you heard a gunshot.
Yes.
And you were inside the bar when you heard that gunshot.
Yes, I was.
So it was not until after the gunshot that you got up and went outside.
Right, we heard the gunshot and then we ran outside.
And some patrons from the bar, they grabbed Merle.
Yeah, because he ran away, so they brought him back.
And they held him until the police came.
Yeah.
And Merle made the statement, I did not want to fight him.
Objection.
Objection?
Objection calls for speculation.
May I be heard
No,
outside?
objection hearsay.
No,
That's for
hearsay.
hearsay.
May I be heard outside the presence
You
of the
may.
jury? Your Honor, while this is hearsay, it's an exception to hearsay. It's an excited utterance. It was a statement that the defendant made relating to a startling incident while he was still under the stress and excitement from that incident.
Your Honor, this is actually not excited utterance because the definition of excited utterance calls for a very spontaneous, it's a spontaneous reaction in the moment. It has to happen immediately after. Whatever the defendant said was not immediately after, it was well after he was brought back.
Was the statement made, counsel, was the statement made right after?
Your Honor, this was a spontaneous statement. It was the only statement, the statement that was made directly after this incident occurred. Nothing else occurred in between this incident and the statement.
I will overrule.
So I'm going to ask you the question again. Merle made the statement, I did not want to fight him.
Yes.
And one last question for you, Mr. Feldman. Are you friends with William Jones?
No, I'm not. I know him from the Red Apple, but I wouldn't say we're friends.
All right. No further questions, Your Honor.
Your Honor, at this point, the defense rests.
The
The
prosecution.
prosecution rests.
Your Honor, at this time, we would like to exercise Rule 29. The state has not proven their case beyond a reasonable doubt, and we are moving to dismiss this case.
You're asking for a lot, counselor. That motion, that is denied.
Since it's denied, at this time, we will call to the stand Frank Williams.
Let me stop you guys there and start a new recording.